Hey, what is up guys? My name is Griefdrums and today we are back on Rainbow Six. We're going to be taking a look at how to win more gunfights, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are pretty good at the game, but they're always looking to improve. I myself am always looking to improve. So we're going to take a look at a few tips and tricks that I personally feel would help benefit you in winning more gunfights. Okay, so tip number one is going to be intel. Now, intel in this game is huge. If you know where the enemies are, you already have the upper hand, and you can floor bang them, you can wall bang them, or you know where to push from, and you can advise your team on where to go from. Now, intel doesn't just mean drones, cameras, or information from physically seeing them. You can get intel from all sorts of cues that are worth paying attention to. Intel could come from things like callouts from your teammates, or it could be in the form of the little skull and crossbones that you get when someone on your team dies. Now, if someone dies on the opposite side of the map, or, whenever someone dies, if you have a quick look around, if you're not holding a hard angle, and if they're not talking or giving a decent callout, you can have a very quick look, see where that skull and crossbones is, and figure out roughly where someone could be coming from. If you're covering the left-hand side of a lobby, for example, and someone dies on the floor above you, you know that potentially people are coming in from the floor above. Intel can also come in the form of audio cues. By listening out to people, you can hear if they're repelling, you can hear if they are reloading, for example, and all this sort of information can assist you in knowing when to jump out, when to push on them, and when to start shooting at people. If you listen out for someone taking out a claymore, you know that they are a little bit occupied. If you wait and then listen for a reload and you can hear them reloading, that's a good time to jump out and start shooting at them. As far as intel, when it comes to droning, you can obviously use audio cues for this as well, but a good tip is to not actually tag people, but instead put your drone out, have a little look roughly where they are. If you can only see their feet, that's fine. You don't need to push your drone all the way in there, because if they don't know they've been spotted, that's all the better for you. The next tip I want to talk about is angles. Now, a lot of people talk about holding angles, and a lot of people hold angles incorrectly. Now, what you want to do when you're holding an angle is not hold just a single wall like this. Just sitting on the corner, the majority of your head is sticking out from this cover, and you're not really doing anything. Yes, you're covering a little bit of your body, but your head, which is the most valuable part of your character, is completely exposed. I mean, you can get one-shot headshot in this game, so leaving this hanging out from behind a corner doesn't really benefit you. Instead, what you want to do is try and position two walls in front of you so you're peeking between two separate angles. Even better if you can go for 3 or 4, the more you maximize this, the more protected you are, the harder you are to spot, and the easier you can see the enemy, the more of an upper hand you've got. Now, all you need is the tiniest slither showing, a pixel at times, and as soon as you see movement or that is covered, you know that someone's there. You can either pre-fire that, or you know that, someone's going to push through any moment. The best kind of angles are ones with 2 or 3 walls where you get a reasonable visibility of what's going on. You can, fit a couple of bullets in between all of that and take people out without them even realizing that you're there. Or by the time they do, it's too late. Now, because you're closer to the angle, you're holding it, you've got more accuracy on your side. The person that's trying to attack you has to try and fit their cursor or their crosshair onto this little angle. So it's a lot harder for that person. When we're talking about angles, people have got a big problem when it comes to over-peaking. Now, by over-peaking, I mean people feel they always need to see a lot of a corridor, when in reality you can hold soft angles. Now, a soft angle is not necessarily looking down a hallway, but sitting off to the side and looking near the doorway, looking just inside of the door. That way, if you hear someone and your intel comes into play, you know to jump out and hold the stronger angle to start shooting. Now, at the end of a game when there's, 2 players left on your team and 1 on the enemy team, you don't really want to go over-peaking too much. Very often I'll see people, there's 3 left on the defending team, and there's only 1 attacker left, and it's a bit of a balancing act. 9 times out of 10, people will just go rushing for that person, and, sometimes it works, but more often than not, they're going to expect that. So if you're going to do it, make sure you do it together. Getting picked off 1 at a time and then losing the round to a single person is just soul-destroying. The next tip I want to give is aiming high. Now, I know this sounds a little bit daft, but as I said earlier, this game is all about one-shot headshots. That mechanic changes entire games in a matter of seconds. It's very natural to aim slightly low and sort of wait for people to come into view before you try and aim up towards their head. The problem with doing that is you're trying to control the recoil at the same time. So you're then pulling down on the thumbstick or down on the mouse, and you don't want to be going up and then down. So if you automatically aim high to roughly where you think the head is, I mean, I personally, when I was on the console, used to have a problem with aiming lower. I still do it now every now and then. I go around and I aim at what I think is going to be head height and what feels natural for head height, only to find that I'm shooting at someone's neck or chest. Aim higher than what you think is going to be the head height. You obviously don't want to aim to the roof, but definitely aim higher than what you're expecting, because it's a lot easier to drag down onto someone's head if they're crouching or even lying down. If they drop shot you and you're aiming high, if you don't land the first bullet as a headshot, you can easily drag that thumbstick or that mouse down and land it onto their head. Okay, so the next 3 tips I'm going to kind of roll into one. These are going to be move, be unpredictable, and be creative. Now, they all kind of play into the same sort of thing. Now, movement is, not just sitting still and holding an angle as a defender or even as an attacker, you need to keep the opposition guessing. If they have intel on roughly where you are and you suddenly appear from somewhere else, that can be a godsend, and that can be really, really powerful. In 1v3 clutches or 1v4 clutches, if you can draw the enemy attention towards a single area and then go running around to a different area, before they've even realised it, you've killed 1 or 2 of them as they're moving to where they thought you were. So this can be a really effective tactic. When it comes to this, the movement and the unpredictability kind of come hand in hand, but so does the creativity. Don't be afraid to go to a floor above or below instead of straight to the objective site. Don't be afraid to go through a wall or a hatch or a window instead of just going straight through the single doorway that people are going to expect to see you from. Be creative, be, unpredictable. Keep the enemy guessing, as you will definitely win more gunfights. Pre-firing a soft section of wall and then running in through a door or a breach on the right hand side of the room at, almost exactly the same time because you've done it so quickly, people will still be firing at where you've just fired to hopefully try and wallbang you. So by keeping them guessing, you're appearing out of nowhere, and it really does surprise everyone. That shock and awe tactic can be so effective. You'll see people like Beda and Serenity, they all do it. They'll pre-fire a section of soft wall or a door, and then they will jump in through somewhere else very, very quickly. And this keeps the enemy guessing because their head is they're looking the wrong way. Their head's got to be on the swivel the whole time. The next tip I want to give is to stop and listen. Now, obviously, you're moving around, you're being creative, you're being unpredictable, you're, throwing EMPs on one side of the objective and jumping in through the other. But very often when you are moving around and you are running around a lot, you forget to just stop and listen. And by stopping your character in an area that you feel is relatively safe or that you can hold a few angles, and just standing there for a couple of seconds, turning the character so you can adjust where you're hearing by, moving your character around and turning them, you're obviously adjusting your head of the character and what you're hearing. So you can clearly hear if someone is coming from behind you or above you. And by doing this, you'll be amazed at how many roamers are halfway round a corner, just trying to push on you from behind, and you hear them coming. And if you can start shooting at them before they even come around that corner because you've heard them coming, the amount of accusations you get will be unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying do this every 5 steps, realistically, you're better off droning and stuff, but 9 times out of 10, it does benefit you to just every now and then have a little stop and a listen. The next big one I want to talk about is pre-firing. Now, I've probably mentioned it a couple of times in this already by accident, but pre-firing, if you don't already know, is sending bullets down range and shooting before you jump out of cover. If you know roughly where someone is or you think someone is going to be there, shooting there before you even expose your character does not hurt in any way, shape or form. It is a really beneficial thing to do because 9 times out of 10, the bullets are going to be 3/4 of the way down range on their way to that attacker or defender before you have jumped out of cover. This can really catch people off guard, and people like Skittles and Bolo are phenomenal for doing this. They assume that every corner has got someone peeking and holding an angle on it. And by doing that, as they round the corner, they send a couple of bullets that way and pre-fire it just in case. The amount of sick shots and insane wall bangs and stuff they get is phenomenal. They start shooting before they actually take the time to realise what is going on around that corner. They don't stick their head out, have a look, think there's someone, now I'm going to shoot. They are shooting before they've even realised if there's someone there or not. And this is essentially pre-firing. So with pre-firing and all of your intel, your angles, aiming high, being unpredictable and creative, the biggest advice that I can give to win more gunfights is relaxing. Now, relaxing sounds daft. It doesn't sound like it's going to benefit you in any way, shape or form, but you really will be surprised. If you're going into ranked matches really tense and really worried about your rank and scared about what's going to happen, not scared, but if you're really worried and stressed about it, you're going to lose more than you win. If you go in and you think, you know what, I'm going to try jumping out of some windows today. I'm going to try C4ing people through the floor. I'm going to try fusing the objective. I don't do that very often. I very rarely play as fuse. If you've got a little bit of knowledge as to how to use that operator, you can try them out. Be more relaxed. Be more confident. And that's, confidence is the final tip I want to give. It comes hand in hand with relaxing, but being confident and relaxed and assuming that you are going to win these gunfights will definitely help you win them more. Obviously, a lot about the gunfight comes down to skill. Whether you can shoot or not, whether your crosshairs are in the right place, and whether your brain is functioning quickly enough to figure out what is going on. But a lot of this battle comes down to the relaxing and being confident. A lot of it can be won before you've even gone into it. If the other person that you're peeking suddenly gets scared shitless and jumps, then their crosshairs are not going to be where they should be. If you go around the corner assuming someone's going to be there, there is, and you've already sent bullets towards them, you can be more confident. And by being more confident, you will get more kills. The hardest thing is when you get into a slump of no confidence. When you have 3 or 4 games and you don't do an awful lot, you tend to rush a lot more and you tend to be a lot less patient when it comes to games. You think, oh, I won't drone this room, we're running out of time. Whereas more confident players will say, you know what, I've got 30 seconds. 30 seconds is plenty of time to send a drone in very quickly, gather some intel on, at least one location of the last 2 defenders before I push in. And more confident players will then go in and achieve what they wanted to achieve. Now, it doesn't happen every time. You can have all the confidence in the world, but it will definitely benefit you. Trust me on that. Now, I know there's a lot of information in this video. Hopefully some of the tips help you. I genuinely do believe that winning more gunfights comes down to a lot of this kind of stuff. If this video is something you enjoyed and you've taken anything from it, please consider hitting that thumbs up. But what about you? Have you got any tips for winning gunfights? Let me know down in the comments below. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe, and until next time guys, stay reckless and relentless.